culture hero, coming to save us all. You never judged us, taught us to stand up tall. Pop culture hero, taught us to be as one. After the prequels, the healing has begun. Walking the thin line between heaven, earth, and hell. Pop culture hero, saving us from ourselves.
Hey guys, Maniac here with GameAccess.net with Disc Reader 117. Posting up a bit of a follow-up on my E3 experience. I know I promised you guys on the Twitter feed a while ago that I was going to do a wrap-up E3 video about what I saw and everything else, and I figured I'd have Disc Reader here as kind of a way to moderate, because I saw so much that is going to be a lot. Yeah, I figured to have you here because you at least would keep me focused. So I know there's stuff that you want me to tell you about, and I know there's stuff that you wanted me to see, but please take into account that there's stuff that other people wanted to see as well. So I'll try to run this by and try to get this in as quickly as possible so that we can kick up only about 15 minutes of discussion. But the first thing I do want to talk about is the PlayStation Vita, the new handheld from Sony. Do you have any interest in that one?
I never even heard of it.
You never heard of the PlayStation? You have a PlayStation Portable, you know.
Yeah.
This is going to be the next PlayStation Portable device, basically. And I got to see it. I got to demo it. I got to see 5 games on it. I get to actually play those 5 games. So I got a really good demo on all the control schemes and all the capabilities of the unit itself. The cool thing about it is that it's about the same size as a Model 1000, I should say, PSP. It's about the same size as a PSP. The smaller versions, the newer versions, are a little bit slimmer for the original PSP. But the Vita is about the size of the original, which is pretty cool because it has so many more features than the PlayStation Portable has. It has touch sensors on the front screen, which the PlayStation Portable did not have. It's got touch sensors on the back of the unit itself. It's got a front-facing camera. It's got a rear-facing camera. Actually, I don't know I didn't see the front-facing camera. Let me phrase it. I saw the front-facing camera, but I didn't see the rear-facing camera. But I held it up when I was playing some games, and it definitely was shooting what was behind it. So I'm assuming it has the rear-facing camera. It's also got a microphone, so you can talk to it. The LED screen, the OLED screen, is fantastic picture quality. Fantastic, beautiful, beautiful picture. It's got USB connection for charging, Wi-Fi connection, and GPS. And it's also going to have optional 3G antenna. Optional. Which you'll have to use AT&T for. And that is considered to be a pretty bad decision in this country because everyone in this country hates AT&T right now because they cannot... They can't handle the current service that they've got, let alone what they're doing right now. I mean, your calls are dropping every 5 minutes. But that's only based upon my experiences and everyone's experience at E3. The AT&T service at E3 was, the 3G was, you had 5 bars but no service whatsoever. You couldn't get anything out. It was really bad. Edge worked at the first day because I think people weren't defaulting to Edge, but when 3G went down completely the second day, Edge started getting backed up too. It was I was kind of hoping I'd get more data out, but the service was just dead. But that's neither here nor there. That's just my experiences, and everybody has AT&T and T-Mobile's experience at E3. The Vita actually does work very well. One game I really did like, the first game I demoed for it was Little Big Planet Vita, which was literally, it's like Little Big Planet, but it takes all the capabilities of it. You have to use tilt sensors to make the Sackboy move around in order to swing things around. Use the front and rear touch sensors in order to bring in and bring out things in the environment. Shake it, basically do all these things, and it's actually really intuitive. I never played Little Big Planet before. But it ruined my Little Big Planet experiences for other games because when I started playing the PlayStation Portable version, which I downloaded off the PlayStation Network after the Welcome Back came back, it was ruined for me because it's like, oh, I want to touch the screen and move this, and I want to do this. All I got is the controls. All I have is the control scheme. Virtual tennis I also played. Controls were basically like you can swipe directions about where you wanted to go. It didn't work very well, but then again, I could take that into account of the game just being badly coded as opposed to the hardware. I also got to play this cool rock game, which is going to be a downloadable game for the service. The cool thing about that game was it was made by the guy who made Everyday Shooter, so it's got a really cool soundtrack to it. You basically use the thumbsticks in order to navigate through these areas, but it made no major use of the control scheme of the Vita at all. In fact, if I didn't know any better, if I played it on a PlayStation, you could play it on a PlayStation Portable pretty easily. It didn't use any of the Vita uses. And I played another game, I think it was called like Angry Bastards or something, Little Bastards or something like that, which basically was like a series of mini games, which worked pretty well. It used the rear touch sensors, it used the front touch sensors, it used the camera for enhanced reality stuff. That all pretty much worked well, which is what made me think of, well, if it's so intuitive in those games and it didn't work in virtual tennis, it's probably just bad coding or something, or it's just the limitations of tennis. Maybe I couldn't get the swipe exactly the way I wanted it based upon my positioning. Who knows? I don't play tennis at all. And the final game, of course, I got to demo was Uncharted Golden Abyss, which was levels of fun that I cannot begin to talk about. And that is, hopefully, if that's a launch title, that will sell a lot of Vitas, because it's a lot of fun. It basically plays very similar to how you would imagine an iPhone version of, or an iPad version, I should say, of Uncharted to be. You would swipe up all the ledges and you tilt the things and make him jump to another ledge. And so all this stuff, you could tap a guy and disarm him and knock him out from behind. It still made use of the thumbsticks. You could still use the thumbsticks to move around and navigate when you weren't on ledges and stuff like that, and ready weapons and shoot and stuff like that also. But like with Uncharted, the way Uncharted always is, there's segments where you're shooting, and then there are segments when you're climbing. Yeah. So it's all broken up pretty well, and if they continue to keep it as broken up as it was in previous games, which it probably will be, it should be just fine. The questions I had about the unit itself were basically questions that I'm sure everybody would be interested in. I did get to have a Q&A session with one of the developers, but unfortunately, they told me nothing I wanted to hear. They would not answer any important questions about the unit itself. They claimed that information has not been finalized. And of course, the things I asked about was, I was curious about memory. I knew that the system was going to have memory sticks. That's how it's going to work. You're going to have memory sticks where your games are going to be included, similar to what the 3DS and the DS has, just a little bit different shaped. It's going to use memory sticks, and that memory stick is going to be solid state, which is that it's going to have some ROM portion for the game itself, so the game itself can't be modified, but it's going to have a small RAM portion of it, probably around, I don't know, 900 kilobytes or something like that. Basically enough for saves. You'll have enough space for saves. And so I'm looking at that like, okay, so save games are taken care of. Those are small. Be honest, that takes care of save games. But what about internal memory for the system? You're going to have downloadable content. We've known that since you announced the system itself. The platform all supports downloadable content. I'm sure that game made by the Everyday Shooter guy is going to be a downloadable game by all means. So I played downloadable games for the service as well, or future downloadable games. Like, what are you doing for internal memory? They told me they haven't finalized what the internal memory system is going to be for the platform, but they did say, unfortunately, this is what they told me, they're not going to support memory stick. Now, I did see some pictures after I got back. I didn't see these in the demo area itself, but I did see some pictures that the system could have its own proprietary memory stick, which I think is a bad idea, given the fact that memory sticks are available. They're more than useful. They work in the PSP, they work in the PS3. They're ubiquitous. They're Sony's major platform. Why not continue to use what you got that works? You know, if not, you're just going to kill the memory stick format. And all the people that are using memory sticks, once the PSP goes away, are going to switch over to SD cards or something like that, because all the new Sony cameras are all dual socket. They support SD, or they support memory sticks nowadays. But you're going to kill the format. Like, why would you do that? Especially given the fact that I could buy 16 to 32 gigs in a stick. And it would be a lot more than, let's say, if you only had, like the PSP Go has 16 gigs internal memory. They did say that the system will have internal memory. They said that. And right now the heavy favorite expectation is that it's going to have about 16 gigs of internal memory, because that was what the PSP Go had. Then when I told them, I asked them, it's like, you know, if you want to have internal memory for the thing, that's fine. How much internal memory will you have in the platform? They wouldn't tell me. They said they don't know. The guy said that they didn't know. He also said no TV output. No HDMI, no internal HDMI output, no external HDMI output, no TV outputs at all. The only connection that it has externally is for a USB connection for charge. Now, yes, that can mean if you've got a USB connection there, can you do data transfer between that, you know, let's say your PS3 or your computer or something? Likely, yes. You know, they're not going to put that just in for charge. If they're going to have a USB connection, let's face it, they're going to use USB. The price is going to be $250 for a non-3G service. The price is going to be $300 for a 3G one with a 3G antenna. That is, as far as I know, the first actual handheld device that actually has a reasonable price for a 3G model. And don't get me started on the iPad. That's fucking highway robbery. $120 for a fucking 3G. I mean, Apple, are you stupid? $120, $130 for a premium model? Like, it's not worth that much. It's just not. That's why everybody went to T-Mobile and bought those MiFi cards.
Yeah.
In fact, T-Mobile didn't even realize what they had until later on, when people started buying it. It's like it was cheaper just to buy a buy a non-3G iPad and get a plan with any other service that wasn't forcing you, and just use MiFi. That worked just as well, and everybody liked it. Nowadays, people are just going to use their cell phones for that kind of thing and do tethering. And I'm sure that's going to be an option. But here, it's like if it's that reasonable, the price of tethering is going to be the same as the price of the premium model. Independent AT&T stores stock these things because I think they're going to sell it. I think people are going to choose the 3G models of those units over the Wi-Fi. That's just my prediction. But it's based upon the fact that it's actually a reasonable price. $250 is what the PlayStation Portable launched at back in 2005. Yeah. I know, because I bought a PSP when it launched. And I was happy with that. A lot of people were complaining at the time that $250 was high. No, actually, no, I take it back. They weren't. People now are complaining that $250 is high, especially when the fact that the 3DS came out at that price. Yeah. But I'm thinking 5 years ago, it was the same price. $250 is what to expect nowadays for a handheld. That's a reasonable price. If you want a premium model, $300 is now reasonable. Granted, it costs as much as a console right now. PS3 and the Xbox 360 cost that much now, but you know, it's faster. It's got better hardware than in some cases than those things. So, and it's portable. Laptops cost more than desktops. So, I don't know. That was my take on it. Most of my questions, like I said, most of my questions about it were not answered because the technician that they had only was going to tell me what they had already announced at the Sony press conference, which I was not allowed to attend. They didn't invite me to that. So that's my whole spiel about the PlayStation Vita. You know what? I think I'm going to break it here. I think I'm just going to break it here, and we'll talk about some of the games that I saw for the various platforms after in the next video. I think this is a good spot to break. Talked a little bit more about the Vita than I thought I was, but I have been meaning to talk about it for at least a month now, and I just hadn't had the chance to. There's just been too much on my plate to do that. So we'll be back, and I'll be talking about some of the more of the games that I had covered that I had gotten to see at E3. So stay tuned for the next video.